Ever been in a place where everyone looked at you like you didn't belong, until you proved them all wrong? Watch this, because this story isn't just about a bullet hitting a target, it's about a father reclaiming his worth, and a lesson in never judging a man by his silence. If this story touches your heart, don't forget to like the video and subscribe, because stories like these deserve to be heard. The shooting range buzzed with energy that morning, polished rifles gleamed under the sun, laughter echoed among confident shooters, and banners fluttered with the words, "Annual Precision Championship." Among the line of shooters stood a man quietly adjusting an old, weathered rifle. His clothes were plain, his hands steady, his eyes deep with the kind of calm only years of hardship could carve. His name was Daniel Reeves, a single dad, a veteran, and a man who had lost more than most could imagine. Daniel didn't come to compete. He came because his 10-year-old son, Ethan, had begged him. Ethan adored his father, though he never fully understood the quiet pain behind his dad's eyes. "Come on, Dad," Ethan had said earlier that week, "I saw the flyer. You used to be the best shot in the army, right? You could win." Daniel had smiled faintly. "That was a long time ago, buddy. I'm just not that man anymore." But Ethan had persisted, and finally, Daniel agreed, not for the trophy, but for the boy who still believed in him. When they arrived at the range, it was clear they were outsiders. Around them, expensive rifles gleamed in designer cases, shooters wore branded ear protection, and whispers followed Daniel wherever he walked. "Look at that old thing he's holding," someone snickered. "He's gonna embarrass himself." Another voice, cold and sharp, chimed in, "Bet he's just here for the free coffee." The reigning champion, Brad, the Eagle, Mercer, stood confidently in the center, muscular, cocky, with a smirk that spoke of endless victories. He spotted Daniel and grinned. "You sure you're in the right place, old man? This isn't a charity shoot." Laughter rippled through the crowd. Daniel didn't respond. He simply guided Ethan to a bench, placed his old rifle down, and adjusted the scope like he was greeting an old friend. Ethan whispered, "Dad, they're laughing." Daniel's hand rested on his son's shoulder. "Let them. The target doesn't laugh, son. It just tells the truth." When Daniel's name was called, the crowd fell into a hush, but not out of respect. It was curiosity, maybe even pity. He stepped forward, calm and unhurried, the veteran's discipline in every movement. The announcer chuckled softly, reading his name. "Daniel Reeves, civilian entry." Brad leaned on his rifle. "Let's see the hero shoot." Daniel took a deep breath. The world went quiet. Years of noise, war, heartbreak, loneliness, faded. In his mind, he wasn't at a competition. He was back in the desert, his squad counting on his eyes, his focus, his hands. He lined up the shot. Ethan's small voice whispered, "You can do it, Dad." And then, he pulled the trigger. The sound echoed like thunder. The bullet struck dead center. The target split clean through. A red light blinked on the scoreboard. Perfect score. The range master blinked, then double-checked. That's a record hit." The crowd gasped. Brad's smirk faded. Daniel didn't celebrate. He simply lowered the rifle, exhaled, and looked at his son. "Told you the target tells the truth." But the moment wasn't over. Brad, flushed and angry, shouted, "Beginner's luck. Try again." The announcer hesitated, then nodded. "Reeves, you have another round." Daniel nodded once, reloaded, and fired again. Another perfect shot. Then another. And another. By the fourth, the crowd wasn't laughing, they were cheering. The scoreboard flashed a new record, Daniel Reeves, 100%. Ethan jumped into his father's arms, tears in his eyes. "You did it, Dad." But Daniel shook his head gently. "No, buddy, we did it. You believed in me when I couldn't." The crowd began to gather around him, people who had ignored him minutes ago now wanting to shake his hand, to apologize for their judgment. Even Brad stepped forward, humbled. "Guess I judged too quick. You've got skills, old man." Daniel smiled softly. "Just experience. And a reason to aim true." As they walked back to their old truck, Ethan clutched his dad's hand. "Does this mean you're gonna shoot again? Maybe join the team?" Daniel looked at the horizon, the same kind of sky he'd watched over battlefields, now calm, forgiving. "Maybe. But for now, I've got everything I need right here." He looked down at Ethan. "You're my target, son. My reason. My home." Later that night, Back in their small house, Ethan placed the trophy on their shelf beside an old military medal. "Dad," he said, "you think people will remember your shots?" Daniel smiled, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Maybe. But I hope they remember this more, that it doesn't matter what you hold, or what you've lost. What matters is what's still in your heart, and who you're fighting for." The next morning, photos of Daniel's record-breaking shot spread online. Headlines read, "Veteran Dad Shatters Record at Local Range, Never Judge a Book by Its Rifle." Messages poured in, respect, gratitude, inspiration. But Daniel didn't care about fame. He cared about Ethan's pride, the way his son now walked taller beside him.